Hello everyone, welcome to YK Reviews. As you've seen in the title of this video, it's going to be all about Invincible Season 1, with us getting you ready for Season 2. Now I know at the time of this video coming out, Season 2 Episode 1 has already aired, but this is just prepping you in time for the full season of Season 2. So let's get into it here. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to Season 2, only 4 episodes are going to be released before they do like a mid-season pause, and then next year they're going to release the next 4 episodes, which honestly really sucks because if you haven't seen the show, highly recommend it. Full disclosure, this is going to be all spoilers, so if you haven't seen the show, spoiler alert for the rest of this video, as we're going to be talking about Season 1, getting you all up to date, everything you need to know in preparation for Season 2. But like I said again, only 4 episodes this year for Season 2 and then 4 episodes next year. No confirmation of the release date when it comes to the last 4 episodes. But let's talk about Season 1 first of all, because honestly, like I said, I highly recommend this show. If you haven't seen it, it is incredible. If you're getting superhero fatigue or comic book fatigue, this show will just reinvigorate everything about superheroes that you would love. Now, with this, in terms of like the comic book, full disclosure, I've only got Volume 1. I've only read Volume 1 for now, just because I didn't want to read too much into it as I'm getting into Season 2. However, I'll be completely honest with you, when it comes to like the comic book, a lot of things are pretty much accurate when it comes to like the origin story and the backstory of Mark, Omni-man's son. But in terms of like the first couple of episodes, or like what happens in the episodes don't really reflect on what happens in the comic book. But honestly, I would highly recommend reading the comic book, because the storyline in that one, especially in Volume 1, when it's following a certain person kidnapping the student as the students are turning into bombs, honestly such an awesome read, especially getting to know the characters of Omni-man, of Mark, and their relationship dynamic and stuff like that. A really awesome read, and I can't wait to read the rest of them, Volume 2 and onwards, because as we're getting into Season 2, as we're getting into more of like the lore of the comic books, for me personally, I really want to know more, everything about the lore of it as we're getting into the show, because I want to do show and comic book combined as each episode is airing, so that it's kind of running frame by frame, if that makes complete sense. But in terms of the show itself, it's gory, it's messy, it's emotional, it's gut punching, it's heartbreaking, it's everything you want and more. And of course, like the voice casting too, you cannot deny the voice casting in this show. But in terms of like the show itself, because like obviously you start off with the first episode, you immediately dive into basically the Guardians of the Globe. So because the first opening sequence of the first episode is you've got the White House getting attacked. The Guardians of the Globe arrive to try to save the day from the villains, who are the Mauler twins, as we're going to get to know them throughout the show, and I really love the Mauler twins. But we get to know the Guardians of the Globe, so you've got these characters that are very similar to like DC characters. So you've got somebody that resembles the Flash, somebody that resembles Batman, and other characters there. They're protecting the White House along with the civilians, defeating the Mauler twins. Now again, if you're comparing it with the comic books, in Volume 1 there's no mention of the Guardians of the Globe, so you don't really get introduced to them just yet. And then Omni-man comes in to save the day. He is able to stop the Mauler twins, and that's when we follow Mark's, Omni-man's son's origin story, because he's starting to finally develop his powers. As he's jumping off the roof, he realizes that he can fly. So you've got Omni-man training Mark, learning about his super strength, learning about his flying, his super speed. So you're getting the origin story of that, following him and his journey of self-discovery, teaching him how to fight, teaching him, again, like I said, how to fly. He gets his suit, he gets his nickname called Invincible. And what I like as they're progressing throughout the show is like every single moment when you're showing the title card is you've got someone in the show, Mark or a different villain or a different character, about to say that this is or I am, and then you've got the title card Invincible. I really like that touch throughout the whole show. But then you get this shocking ending to the first episode, as you've got the Guardians of the Globe meeting up in the HQ, and then all of a sudden Omni-man just comes in and just kills every single Guardian of the Globe. And the way the death is, like for example the Flash character, where you've got Omni-man just squeezing his head and you see the blood and the gore and the bones and the brains just splurting out everywhere. You've got characters that have their, like for example there's this fish character, one of the superheroes, he just gets chopped in half and squished, and it's just disgusting and disturbing, but it's all animated form and it looks absolutely gory and incredible, but in like a shocking twist. For example, I watched this when it first came out 2 years ago, back in 2021. No idea about this show or the backstory or anything like that. So I'm watching the first episode thinking this is a great origin story, this is a nice superhero show. And then all of a sudden, and I wish I could have recorded my reaction, just the shock and the awe with this episode ending, Omni-Man killing these characters in the gruesome fashion. I was just like, what the fuck? But as they're all fighting back, so then eventually he does kill everyone, but like with the damage that he took, he ends up passing out, closing out the episode, which we then move on to basically the rest of the show. And in terms of like the storyline and the plot, that is the major focal point of the show. Is you get introduced to Cecil, you get introduced to the GDA and this government organization who was working with the Guardians of the Globe, who was working with Omni-Man to take on and defend Earth. So they're now investigating this, trying to figure out who killed all these characters, who killed the Guardians of the Globe, who did this. But on a side note, you get introduced to the rest of the characters, like the Teen Titan teenager team. You've got Robot, you've got Duplicate, which is basically the play on Duplicate. If you don't like that character's name, you've got Rex in there, you've got Atom Eve being introduced. Now with Atom Eve, she also had a special, which I again highly recommend to check out. With this side plot is that Robot, Rex, Duplicate, Atom Eve, they're working together. In the second episode, they're fighting off this army which becomes too strong. The only benefactor is that the aliens are de-aging every time they enter the Earth, and eventually they do find a way to work this out, but Omni-Man comes in and just pushes them all back into their dimension, only to end up just blowing up and destroying their own planet, which again, like you see throughout the whole show, the focal point of how strong Omni-Man is, how terrifying he is with every single like villain that he's facing off. But with this team, this new team, because of the Guardians of the Globe, they're all dead, they're the now focal point, they're the defenders of the Earth. So Cecil gets Robot to basically come up with a new team. So throughout the show, because of the whole situation with Atom Eve and Rex and Duplicate, this whole aspect of Rex cheating on Atom Eve as they were dating, because Duplicate's power is that she's able to replicate herself. So Rex kind of had this little foursome orgy, whatever you want to call it, with Duplicate and her duplicates. No pun intended there. Eve ends up breaking up with him, so she's off on her own. So this new team is, you've got Robot, you've got Black Samson, you've got Duplicate, you've got Rex, you've got Monster Girl. So they're the new team, and they're the ones that are like on the side taking care of like other missions, minor missions, while you've got Omni-Man and Mark and that storyline going on there. So the whole focus of the show in terms of like this team is them trying to work together, trying to work as a team, taking on bad guys because they're so just dysfunctional. And it even takes a toll when later on there's this episode with Mark as he's trying to help this character Titan, who tricks him into helping him overthrow his boss, who is Machine Head. He ends up getting tricked. He's getting badly damaged by the goons that Machine Head has hired, including one called Battle Beast, who just beats the living crap out of Monster Girl, beats the living crap out of Black Samson, beats the living crap out of Invincible. So you really see that dynamic of this team working together and just not being able to function here. They do work together to eventually try to help take on and help all these characters because of the final battle, which we'll get into eventually. But then you also focus on Debbie, who's Mark's mum, Nolan, Omni-Man's wife. So you kind of see like the tension building between her and Omni-Man throughout the show. You see them, how they're in love with each other, how Omni-Man, because of his ability, is able to fly over to different countries, surprise her with dinner. So after the death of the Guardians of the Globe, now you start really feeling this tension between the two of them. She's starting to get suspicious because of Cecil, and there's also other character called Darkblood, who is sort of like this demon that comes from hell, who's also just investigating this, starting to get his suspicions about it. But you get that focus, and especially towards like the latter part of the show, once it's all been revealed, and just like the heartbreak in her after everything that she witnessed, and especially because she witnesses the final battle, it's just so heartbreaking and just so painful to watch, seeing the kind of journey that she goes through. And then there's also a subplot going on when it comes to Robot. So the Mauler twins, who was in the first episode, after they get arrested, they end up actually getting released by a mysterious person, which we come to find out is actually Robot. So the Mauler twins are able to like clone, and that's how they're able to survive, because eventually when they did escape the prison, one of them died, so the main one was able to create a clone of himself once again in a warehouse. And because because Robot's using them, he ends up actually getting like a blood sample from Rex earlier when they were doing this audition for all the superheroes for the new team. He ends up getting a blood sample from Rex, and he uses that because he needs the Mauler twins to create a clone version of himself, because he's actually a baby, not a baby, but like a really what's a kind word, like just a bad looking shaped human who kind of looks like a baby that's been beaten so badly. I really don't know how to put it lightly or how to put it in kind words, but he looks bad, basically. He really does look bad in the jar. So the Mauler twins are using their technology, their scientific knowledge and know-how to then create that clone version, which ends up actually looking just like a kid version of Rex, because he wants to get a life. He wants to also, because he's more invested and more interested in the Monster Girl character. So you've got that subplot going on. Eventually he promised them these schematics, but he ends up betraying them. They end up getting arrested in the final episode, but Robot now has his robot version of himself and his kid version of himself as well. So you've got that subplot going on there. And then there's also a subplot when it comes to Mark, his character, and his sort of relationship when it comes to Amber. So this girl in school that he likes, he ends up falling for her. They have their little ups and downs because of obviously his superhero life. So you kind of got like this Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2 situation where he's trying to balance everything: work, school life, superhero life, just all of that stuff. So he's going through that kind of phase, because now we lead up to the events, because obviously everybody's starting to get suspicious of Nolan, of Omni-Man throughout the show. Like Debbie finds his damaged suit, the tailor also figures it out. Cecil and the GDA were like spying on his house. They eventually figure this out, so they're trying to find ways to stop Omni-Man. And as they're doing this, they're throwing everything at Omni-Man, but nothing is working until this alien creature thing that they captured before is able to sort of take some damage to him. But then obviously Mark sees this and he actually saves Omni-Man, his dad, from about to be eaten from the alien. And then this just leads to the intense, incredible finale. You've got this massive battle when it comes to Mark and Nolan, Omni-Man versus Invincible. Obviously Omni-Man just is able to beat the living crap out of Invincible so easily because of his strength. We come to find out that the motive and everything behind all of this was because Omni-Man Nolan is a Viltrumite who is from the planet Viltrum, and basically they did a Thanos and wiped out half the population by just eliminating the weak, and that they came up with this task force, this team, to go to different planets to just make them weak and have them ready for the Viltrumite infiltration. So Nolan picked Earth to do it, and so he's ready to take over the planet now, and he wants Mark to join him. Obviously Mark is refusing this, and so again, like this huge fight taking over Chicago, wiping out places. Like, you see the damage, and it's not just like buildings collapsing or cars or anything like that, the kind of crap that you'll get from the Fast and Furious movie. This was just like some incredible scenery there. Like, for example, there's one scene where like the building is about to collapse. You've got this mother and daughter inside it. So Invincible's trying to push the building, and he's holding this hand of this mother who's fallen out the window. Eventually the building falls, and you've got Mark standing over this crushed building with the hand. And then when he picks up the hand, the rest of the body is just completely missing. Like, it's just emotionally and incredibly sadistic with the kind of scenes that they showed, and I was all for it. Like, you've got Omni-Man coming in, like you've got these fighter pilots coming in to try and stop Omni-Man. Omni-Man destroys one of the planes. Mark ends up trying to save the pilot. He actually saves him, stands him up, only for Omni-Man to just come from behind and just crushes the guy's head right in front of Mark's eyes. And like even the speeches or the deliveries, the lines that he's throwing to Mark, basically shitting on Mark's mother, calling her a pet, saying that how weak and feeble the human race is. There's that one scene where he literally grabs Mark, goes into this train station and just holds his head through a train, and you just see everybody just slicing and dicing and just body parts flying everywhere. It was just an incredible fight sequence. Like, I've not seen anything like this. You will not see this in Marvel or DC, but it was absolutely incredible when it comes to this fight sequence. But it's literally just so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching when it comes to this. And obviously Omni-Man once again is just still beating up Nolan. He's just beating the crap out of him. The only thing that's stopping him is because apparently Viltrumites live for thousands of years, so he's questioning Mark, saying that he's gonna have nobody, and Mark just responds with tears coming down his face, saying how he's going to have his own dad. And you've got this flashback of Mark is like a little kid playing baseball with Nolan, not really caring about all of this until Debbie kind of just opens his eyes, reading about the human race and what this means to the humans, to then him just getting emotional, cheering on Mark as a kid, bringing him back to this sequence of him just standing over his beaten and bloodied son, and he just couldn't finish the job, so he ends up flying away. And it really does bring tears to your eyes. It brings you goosebumps, it brings you emotion, and I loved every single second of this. And so eventually Omni-Man does fly away, ending the battle, and you've just got this damage, this impact of what just took place. The damage to the people of Chicago, the damage to the GDA, the damage to Mark and Debbie and the family, and then also the damage to like the superheroes, because they all witnessed this as well, like not knowing what to do, all witnessing Omni-Man just turning his back on everyone. It was just an amazing finale too, and I really had an amazing time with this. And obviously you've got the last sequence when you've got Mark going to outer space. He meets his character Alan, who is actually looking after like these planets. He's actually been supposed to be visiting Urath, but he's actually been visiting Earth. And so that was in an earlier episode. So Mark actually catches up with him about the events, and Alan basically just confirms that these Viltrumites don't just give up. So basically you're preparing for a fight, that more Viltrumites will be coming to Earth, but Mark says that he will be ready. And you kind of just got like these flash sequences or flash forwards of what's to come. So like you've got Dr. Seismic, who appeared, who was one of the villains in an earlier episode. You've got like the cyborgs, the Cybermen, kid person who actually has joined the GDA. You've got little flashes of like the Battle Beast, and like him most likely be returning, the Mauler twins coming back to prison. So you've got just loads of things ready to be set up for the next season, because it's not just going to be focusing on Omni-Man. And of course, if you've seen the trailer, if you've seen the first episode of season 2, you kind of know the kind of direction that they're going to go with. But just overall, an amazing season 1, an amazing show. I'm so glad they're adapting this into this show, and I really am loving what they're doing. I mentioned this in a weekly entertainment news video that they are planning on doing season 3 and more seasons. So I'm all for it here, because like I said, the volume 1 is a must read and the season 1 is a must watch. So definitely check out both if you have got the opportunity. And of course, if you have seen season 1, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What your thoughts are about it. Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Please let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell so that you're not missing out on these future videos here, because we've got tons coming our way. We've got the Loki show, we've got the season 2 of the Invincible coming out here, along with all the weekly entertainment news videos. So definitely subscribe so you're not missing out on that. But I thank you so much for watching. I thank you so much for listening. This is YK Reviews. Peace.